The time has come. It is time to crown a national champion. It's time for the College Football Playoff National Championship. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish will clash with the Ohio State University Buckeyes for the title in Atlanta. Can the Irish pull off another massive upset and return to glory?
By Samarza, inside the 20, inside the 10, he's going in! Notre Dame has scored!
Go, 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 go!
You will be that driving force to motivate those coaches and those players to beat Southern Cal.
Notre Dame is relevant again.
The 20, the 10, 5-5 rocket touchdown!
Notre Dame is number one.
It's a game of who's going to flinch first. We know that it won't be Notre Dame.
Hello again, everybody. I am Landon Traylor with Logan Traylor and John Richards. Here we go, folks. For the first time since 2013, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish will play for a national championship. How exciting is this, JR?
You know, we say it all the time. 10-2 is never the standard. National championships, that's what you go by at Notre Dame. And here we have a chance to win another national championship. Ironically, it would be the 100-year anniversary since our first in 1924.
Ironic. That is ironic and historic. Logan, it's just the second time that you and I have been able to watch a Notre Dame team compete for a national championship. This one feels a little bit different, though, than the first time around.
Yeah, for sure. It's a completely different situation. Obviously, college football's landscape has changed a ton since 2012, 2013. Still remember watching the Alabama game. Just 12 years old at that point. Now sitting here and we're 24. So super excited just to not only watch them, but just how far they've overcome. And to see where the program's at currently is just exciting in general. So it's very cool. And it comes around full circle, like we were just talking about before we hit that record button, that it's Ohio State. There's kind of this rivalry here that seems to be trending. The 3 straight years we'll be able to play them, so that's exciting. So should be a good game. Ready for it.
Yeah, Ohio State's one of the teams that I wish was on the schedule every single year, home and home series. I love playing them. Good for the game of college football. With that being said, the Irish will match up with honestly one of the most talented teams that I have seen, top to bottom. The quarterback, the receivers, the running backs, the defensive ends, the defensive backs. They are a very, very, very talented team. And with that being said, they are 13-2 on the year and are the second hottest team in college football, starting back to obviously the Michigan loss, but since the college football playoff, let's be honest, they've been rolling their opponents. They started the year with a 52-6 win over Akron, a 56-0 win over Western Michigan, and a 49-14 win over Marshall. So the first 3 games are pretty hard to grasp, but then you get into your conference play. They defeated Michigan State on the road 38-7, defeated Iowa 35-7. And then would lose at Oregon, 32-31. Early loss in the season. Not that big of a deal. 21-17 win over Nebraska. A little bit of Oregon hangover, if you will. I remember watching that game. They were a little hungover, it looked like. Not literally, but figuratively. And then they would defeat Penn State in Happy Valley, 20-13 in a physical, hard-fought game. And then would roll Purdue the week after at home, 45-0. Before defeating Northwestern at Wrigley Field, 31-7. And then the biggest, you could argue, was their second biggest game in terms of ranked matchups of the year. Indiana comes into Columbus, and they take care of business. They held a 38-7 lead before IU punched in a touchdown late. And then they would end the year with a 13-10 loss against a lowly Michigan team that nobody saw coming. And JR, I've heard it through Twitter that week. If we win the national championship, it doesn't matter because we lost to Michigan. What kind of logic is that there in Ohio?
I don't understand it. But, even Woody Hayes himself has said you can win as many national championships as you want. If you didn't win the game, you can't really count it. So, I don't know. I think the Michigan loss, much like the Northern Illinois loss for us, is the best thing that happened for Ohio State.
Mhm.
And you've seen that play out. I mean, they're at their best right now. They're a humming machine, man. They are rolling.
Absolutely, they are. And in the college football playoff, in the first round, they got a home game against the SEC's Tennessee. They just absolutely beat the crap out of them, 42-17, and then would rematch Oregon in the semifinal. And they would absolutely dominate Oregon. It was, I think they put up 34 points in that first half. I think it was 34-7 at the end of that first half. And they won it 41-21 in the Rose Bowl. And then last week in the Cotton Bowl, they defeated SEC team again, Texas, 28-14. This team averages 37 points per game. That is the most points that we have seen to date for the Fighting Irish on their schedule. 265 pass yards a game with 163 rush yards a game. The offensive line surrendered 15 sacks this season, 10 interceptions, and 4 fumbles on the offensive side of things. Now, we flip the side of the ball. They are allowing just 12 points per game, allowing just 153 passing yards per game. And here's the kicker. They are allowing only 61 rush yards per game. The 2 losses this season, 115 and 116 rush yards allowed. And then, of course, in the 1 loss to Oregon, 341 pass yards allowed from Dylan Gabriel. So when they lose on the ground or the air. When they win, they don't let you run the ball well. They do not let you run the ball well at all. Their defense has forced 10 interceptions, 9 fumbles recovered on the defensive side of things, along with 51 sacks on the defensive side, on the defensive line. Logan, Will Howard is playing arguably some of the best football in the country. 3,779 yards, 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 169 rush yards, and 7 touchdowns. By far, one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country leading into the college football playoff. Throw the Michigan game out.
Yeah, it just seems like he keeps improving throughout the course of the year, and then obviously has a ton of weapons around him, and they do a really good job, credit to them, with utilizing their top guys. So, it's a big test. Howard is very comfortable in the pocket, obviously isn't going to look to scramble a ton. So, it's an Ohio State team that is not as, their normal team, in my opinion, just, with their quarterback. But Will's done a really good job, has been extremely disciplined. It's mind-boggling to me when you hear people talk about him that he might be the worst quarterback they've had, in the last 10 years. It's just like, that's nuts to me. But, it's a really talented room. Obviously it's going to be a test, whoever's at quarterback, but Will Howard, is going to give Notre Dame all he's got, and we got our hands full.
Yeah, I think he's answered the bell really well here at Ohio State and thrown into that fire a little bit. Travion Henderson in the backfield has 967 yards along with 10 touchdowns, and Quinshon Judson, 960 yards this season along with 12 touchdowns. And in their receiving core, Jeremiah Smith, 1,227 yards, 14 touchdowns. And then Emeka Egbuka, 947 yards and 10 touchdowns. JR, how do you stop talent like that?
Hopefully with a little help from above, like we talked yesterday. No, you've seen teams be able to slow them down. Texans, they limited some of the things that they like to do. This team, they got a lot of firepower. They got 3 first-round picks, arguably the first-round pick, the top pick if he was eligible to come out this year. In Smith, he would probably be the best player in the draft ahead of Hunter, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. We've got the guys that have been tested all year long on the edge. Gray, Moore, those guys have graded out phenomenally all year. We've seen this kind of depth before last year. Granted, it was at home, but we've got a very veteran staff with a lot of time to prepare. I'm fully confident that we'll come up with some sort of scheme to at least slow them down. Are we going to be able to stop them? Certainly not. But Can we turn them over? Can we win the field position battle? Can we play enough keep away to keep the ball out of their hands to prevent them from being able to do that, number one?
Mhm.
So, in a game like this, sometimes your offense is your best defense. That's critical if you can run the ball. So, you got to throw everything that you got at them. You've got nothing left to play for after this. This is it. You throw the entire kitchen sink out. You do the best you can. You play as hard as you can for 60 minutes, and you let the chips fall where they may. You don't try to get, overly complicated or super exotic or anything like that. I think you trust in what you've done, maybe come up with a few things that maybe Ohio State hasn't seen. But other than that, try to keep the ball in front of you. That's the most important thing. And I would say definitely try and stop the run and take your chances on the edge with the guys playing man-to-man.
Right, right. We can't get behind the sticks like we did against Penn State. It seemed in that Penn State game we were behind the sticks a lot in that game, whether it be penalties, loss of yards, something like that. But it does not help that we are banged up on the defensive side of the ball as well. Logan, do you see us taking a page out of Michigan's book, perhaps, in this ball game?
I definitely think it's a film to consider. But going back to JR, I think offensively, it is so important to make sure that we do not put our defense in a position they don't want to be in. And we got to limit those tough spots. We got to be able to run the football or, it could get ugly. And that's the reality of it. Back to the Michigan game, I think Michigan did a good job of what JR just said. Like they, dominated time of possession. They were able to run the ball. They were more physical. Ohio State was sloppy and put in a position where, they had to continue to fight back. Obviously, they've been behind in some games in the Penn State and Oregon game, but, if you are the more physical team and you can try to wear them down, I think that's where people find success against Ohio State. Keep their offense off the field. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And, back to JR's point, like that's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm. Hell, let's take some pages out of Navy's book and control that time of possession a
Ooh,
little
football
bit.
option.
Yeah. Michigan beat Ohio State, mind you, with just 90 pass yards from one of their three quarterbacks they played in that ball game. On the defensive side of things for Zero State, they have Cody Simon, Sonny Styles, and Jack Sawyer. JR, this is going to be a tough game offensively. This is one of the top defenses in the country. He always seems to bring his A game in the big games.
Yeah, you got to watch out for their defensive line. They got a lot of players there.
Yes, they do.
Can we win that line of scrimmage? I'm not sure. And 44, he still sticks out in my mind from when we played in South Bend, and he made some of those critical stops on third down. And you can see their defense, they're not just good, they're able to put points on the board too. They got playmakers out there. You cannot turn the ball over. That's once the machine gets rolling. It's like giving up a dunk in basketball. You give one up and boy, open the floodgates. There it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Jim Knowles always seems to bring that defensive pressure. I mean, look at the numbers that he's held Notre Dame to in the last 2 years. I know, the first year against Ohio State on the road, scored 10 points. Last year, scored 14 points. So it's going to be a defensive battle here, I think. Two great defensive coordinators going head to head here. Logan, Marcus Freeman said in his press conference yesterday, or a couple days ago on Sunday, I believe, we're not going to be looking at any film from last year's game or the year before. If you need motivated in this spot, you're in the wrong program, Logan.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that Marcus took that loss similar to the NIU loss of he felt it was on him, it was on his staff, which it was, and counting to 11, was challenging back in the day. But, I think it's something to look at in terms of that was in the past. Can't let the past define, the moment or get you get you ready for the current moment. You're playing for a national championship. You should be ready to go. Doesn't matter who you're playing.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's what his point is if we have to go back and look at one of our lowest points to get you guys motivated to play in a national championship game, you don't belong here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Notre Dame trails in the all-time series as Ohio State leads at 6-2. The Buckeyes have won 6 in a row. The first two meetings resulted in Notre Dame victories: an 18-13 win and 19-35 in the shoe, and then a 7-2 victory in 1936. Notre Dame 7, Ohio State 2 at Notre Dame in 1936. And then in 1995 in Columbus, the Buckeyes rolled 45-26. In 1996 at Notre Dame, Ohio State would win 20-16. In the 2006 Fiesta Bowl, it was the Buckeyes winning at 34-20. And then in the 2016 Fiesta Bowl, Ohio State ruled 44-28. In 2022 in Columbus, Ohio State was victorious 21-10. And then last year at Notre Dame Stadium, under the bright lights, it was an instant classic for a 17-14 victory in South Bend for Ohio State. JR, who was the running back for Ohio State? Was it Eddie George in 1995 and 96?
It was Eddie George. Yeah, I was in Columbus for that game, and I was in South Bend for the game in '96, but I didn't go to the game.
Didn't make it in, huh?
Didn't make it in, and I'm glad I didn't because it was a miserable weekend.
It was a 29-16 victory for Ohio State, as this is the first ever national championship meeting between the two. Ironically, it is the first ever meeting in the national championship. Last time Notre Dame played for a national championship was in 2013 at the BCS National Championship in Miami, where Alabama would roll 42-14. Notre Dame is 1-0 in Atlanta this season with the victory over Georgia Tech. JR, will move to you for your keys to the game in the College Football Playoff National Championship.
Boy, it can't be any more simplistic than how I'm going to get. And you might as well just pick any game film from Jim Tressel. Field position, turnovers, line of scrimmage. I mean, it's as simple as that. You have to win all three, and you're probably going to need to win a few more categories, including turnovers, obviously. I got no real deep insight here. Logan always says it all the time, keep it simple, stupid. I'm going to ride that one out on the three keys. And we need our stars to shine. I've said it, the last couple of playoff games that we need Riley Leonard to be the man on the field. He wasn't great last week, but he was better than Drew Aller was. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, he was. Need that to happen again. We need the stars to shine and maybe a little Irish lore to find itself somewhere on the field throughout the night as well. So, field position, line of scrimmage, turnovers, very, very simple.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Logan.
Nothing groundbreaking. Sorry.
Right. You're fine. Groundbreaking stuff there, JR.
You're right.
Yeah, it goes back to the level of physicality we need to have. We need to be the more physical team, which ties into the line of scrimmage. And then, I'm taking 2 out of the 3 of his. The field position is so important. We cannot put our defense in bad positions if we want to win this game. And the third one's interesting one, and it's one I truly believe that is probably the most important. If we can get to halftime, like a Penn State situation where it's a one-possession game, I trust our staff to make adjustments over theirs. So, you can call me the lack of objectiveness like it's been all year, but, I'm taking Marcus Freeman in this battle. He's proved he can coach in this situation. I think if we can get to halftime, we can clean up some things that we might struggle with in the first half. We'll have a shot to win this thing.
Yeah.
That it's amazing that we can say that given couldn't count to 11 twice over a year later. No, really, like,
Yeah.
it's amazing for Freeman. Let's not forget Golden was part of that snafu too.
Hmm.
Mhm.
He was directing that ship, so to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it'd be funny if we took a page out of Michigan's book and tried to get Ryan Day's arrogance to beat himself. Ryan Day not using his weapons. Maybe we can get him to be a little arrogant, saying, "Listen, hey, we got the best two backs in the country. We're gonna run it down your throat." That's how Michigan was able to beat him. My keys to the game: no stupid penalties. Can't have those. That can't happen. We had a lot of penalties against Georgia, a few that hurt us against Penn State. Got to clean it up on there. I think we'll clean it up. We have a lot of time to prepare for this game. Have to force at least one turnover. I think if we can get Howard to force a ball that should not be thrown, force a turnover, let's win the turnover battle. Lastly, Riley Leonard has to be accurate. This is his last game in the college football era, in his college football career. Go out on a bang, go out accurately. Those are my three keys to the game. Our last pick of the season, folks, the College Football Playoff National Championship in Atlanta. January 20th. Happy Inauguration Day. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Happy National Championship Day. Busy day. 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. Ohio State versus Notre Dame.
What the records end up being?
You are currently in first place and have clinched it at 304 and 100, and JR and I are tied at 298 and 106. Let the record be known that I blew a 10-game lead.
Should have called the timeout.
Ah, this is the last pick of the year. It's kind of bittersweet, but at least we're picking our game still. We're still
Yeah.
playing.
I mean, hell,
What a
are
year.
you picking Michigan?
Really, unbelievable, right? Here we are, and our old buddy, Lardass, Bucknut,
Dennis.
Doctor Dental, what a cowboy, dentist, whatever. These people are going to put up 70 points on us. This game's already over. I've gone back and forth, man. We are decided underdogs. What though the odds be great or small? And if you're going to win it, what better way to win it than by beating Penn State and Ohio State, right? The Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can shut all these conference people. Imagine that. The first year of the college football playoff and the independent wins it. Oh, my God, would that chap some asses around the country? Woo! If we're going to win this game, it's going to be an extremely close, tight fashion. I'm not coming all this way to pick against Notre Dame. Only a fool would do that on GDR. Yeah, we tell it like it is, but we're Notre Dame fans too. I got Notre Dame 23-21.
Woo!
Thank you. 23-21. Oh, God. Mm. Here's what's tricky. Low 20s are probably good. High 20s into low 30s. I don't think we can win.
Yeah, over unders 45.
Mm-hmm. 45 and a half, yeah. Moved down to 8. The line did at least.
Yep.
All right. I'm hitting you, Landon. 20. Notre Dame 20. Oh, boy. Ohio State 17.
Mm-mm-mm.
Notre Dame show. We can't pick against them.
I know my gut tells me to
Oh,
pick
God.
Ohio State, but I can't do that on my show. I mean, I started this show. This is a Notre Dame show. I can't do it. Listen, my heart is telling me Notre Dame 24, Ohio State 20. The defense gets a stop in the last possession of the game, and we win the fucking national championship. I'm leaving that in there. That's how it's gonna end. That is how it's gonna end. 24-20, Irish. Book it. Dylan has Notre Dame 20-17 as well. We're gonna have our hands full. It's gonna be a great game. I'm hoping for a great game. We're in the national championship. Who would have thought after week 2, that lowly first week of September, losing to the MAC, losing to Northern Illinois, Notre Dame is playing for a national championship. Wow.
Shalom.
Yes, shalom.
Shalom.
Great time to be an Irish fan. We are back next Tuesday to recap the national championship. Win or loss, GDR will be here. We'll see you then. Go Irish.